guys? Welcome back to the Automatic Marketing Show, where we share tips, strategies, success stories to help you build an automatic marketing machine for your business. I'm Danny Decker, here today with Daniel Bowden. Daniel, thanks for being here. Daniel is on our team at the Automatic Marketing Agency as a project manager. And Daniel, here today, we're going to talk about Facebook audiences and kind of how important it is as you're building your Facebook ad strategy that you get the audience targeting portion of it right. In my opinion, that's one of the most important variables. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, critical for sure.
So as you are sitting down to create a Facebook ad campaign, where do you start when you're thinking about audience targeting?
Yeah, so the way we start is the type of audience that you want to create. You can create a purely demographic-based audience. You can create an audience from your email list and match that in Facebook, and that's called a matched audience. And then you can use that list to create an audience that's similar to your email list, and that's called a lookalike audience.
Cool. So kind of I'm hearing there are, multiple different ways you can go about creating your audience. And the first one you mentioned being Facebook demographic audience. And obviously, something that we share a lot is that it's almost scary how much information Facebook knows about its users, right? Like as a consumer, it's kind of creepy.
Yep.
As an advertiser, it's like, okay, yeah, we have a lot of information to work with.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Like what, let's say we're building a demographic based audience, let's just give some examples of the type of targeting that you can do using that sort of angle.
Yeah. So with the demographic based one, using Facebook's platform, you can start with the basics such as age, location. You can create a radius around a certain location. So if we were doing Charlotte, North Carolina, we could do, a 30-mile radius in the area. You can do gender, male or female. And then you can get even more detailed from there based on behaviors or interests and other activity that you have on Facebook.
Like one thing that I think is super powerful, depending on the area of law that you practice, is also targeting parents, based on like the age of their kids. For example, I was having a conversation with an estate planning attorney, and they want to really focus on new parents, right? So the idea is you just had your first kid. Now all of a sudden you got to start thinking about grown-up stuff like an estate plan and a will and a trust and all of that stuff. And so, for example, we can run only targeting parents with kids between the ages of 0 and 5 years old.
Yep.
And that's super powerful. And you contrast that with something like what you can do on Google, where your ads just show up really anytime anyone searches for estate planning. But on Facebook, it's like, no, we want to put these ads in front of, let's just say, moms in a specific zip code, top 25% household income, and they have kids under the age of 5.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's demographic, which is one great way to go about this. But you mentioned lookalike, or no, I think next you said list-based audience. So let's talk about sort of what that looks like. Let's say I have an email list. Just kind of talk, what does list-based targeting mean to you?
Yeah. So if you have an email list, let's say 100 people, because that's the minimum in Facebook that you need. If you have an email list of 100 people, email, first name, last name, you can upload that into Facebook. And then if you just want to try to find Facebook accounts that match that email list, it's called a matched audience in Facebook. So that's one way you can do it. But then you can also use that list to create an audience that's similar to those people.
So let's focus in on the purely list-based option for a second here. One of the really cool use cases I would see of that, right? So the idea is you've got a list, let's say it's 1,000 people, and maybe those 1,000 people are all past clients, okay? You have a list of 1,000 past clients, and you want to find ways to re-engage your past clients.
Yep.
You can load that list into Facebook and run an ad campaign specifically focused at getting those people to come back.
Exactly.
Maybe you're an immigration firm and you help them get their green card, but a few years later they're going to want citizenship.
Yeah.
And so like that type of thing, super powerful. Or you could use it, maybe your list of 1,000 people are prospects that haven't signed up yet. And so it's like, those 1,000 people, they've already had a sales conversation with you, but they haven't signed up yet. Well, what if you could create messaging specific for them to try to get them to finally sign on the dotted line. Would you agree those are two solid use cases there?
Yeah, really good for retargeting, especially if you have a specific objective in mind with the specific list of people, right?
Yeah. And so, by the way, this comes back to, I'm always telling people, you have to have an email list. It's so important to have an email list, and it's really important to segment your email list, right?
True.
Like, ideally, you have an email list of clients and past clients, another email list of referral sources, like people who are referring you business but aren't necessarily going to, engage you themselves.
Yep.
And then also a prospect list of people who downloaded something from your website, came to a webinar, right? And because each of those, if you have it segmented, you can hit them each with different messaging, and it's super powerful.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And then based off of that, you can create lookalike audiences based off how you segment them as well.
Yeah. So talk about lookalike audiences for a minute, because I feel like that's the third really sort of big bucket here of kind of how we can go about targeting. So explain lookalike audiences.
Yeah, so for lookalike audiences, you're going to use your email list. The more emails you have, the better, so that Facebook can use more of its data to find other Facebook profiles whose behaviors, interests, or location, other things are similar to people in that email list.
Yeah, and which is huge, again, because let's say you have an email list of your 150 best clients you've ever had, right? These are your favorite clients. You would love to work with those types of clients over and over again.
Yep.
You load that into Facebook, you create a lookalike audience, and basically what you're telling Facebook is, now go help me find more people that have, that look like these first 150 people.
Right.
Super powerful. But again, though, only works if you have your list segmented.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so audiences are a really big deal. We have conversations all the time. I have conversations all the time with people that say, hey, well, I tried Facebook ads. They didn't really work for me. And it's like, okay, let's break that down, because Facebook ads definitely can work in a lot of circumstances. They don't work for everybody. But usually the thing that I run into is, the first thing that I run into is people just didn't set up their audiences correctly. And maybe it's just because they hit boost post, or they just, showed their ad to anybody in their geography.
Too big of an audience, too small of an audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute. What happens if your audience is too big and too small?
If your audience is too big, you're probably not showing it to the right people, because you want to get more honed in on, who is your ideal client.
Yeah, and I would even take that a step further and say, okay, maybe you do have a large list of potential clients. Like maybe your potential audience is very large, but the larger your audience, the more you're going to need to spend to saturate them, right? Because part of the concept here is, usually someone is not going to hire your law firm or your business, whatever type of business you're in, until they've seen your messaging a few times, right? They need to see your ads kind of repeatedly. And so if you have an audience of 1 million people, but you're only spending, $1,000 a month, you're just not saturating that audience enough.
Yep.
Versus if your audience is too small, then, Facebook's still going to find a way to spend all your money, because they want to take your money. But what they're going to end up doing is raising your costs. And so you get to a point where you're oversaturating your audience, and really for $700, you could have gotten the results that you had to pay $1,000 for. So it's important to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Other thoughts just around sort of audience targeting? What else do you wish people knew when it came to their audiences?
What do I wish people knew when it came to their audiences? I think the main thing is, we talked about certain behaviors like parents, but there's so many different things on Facebook. We even talked about household income. That's a major one, where you can further narrow your audience. You can do it by U.S.-based income. So top 50%, top 25%, top 10%. All
Which
the way
basically,
up to top 5.
for the vast majority of clients that we work with, again, whether they're law firms or other businesses, most people that we're working with anyways are trying to target middle class, upper middle class.
Right.
Basically, you want to target people that have some money to spend.
Yep.
And using that income filtering, you can put your ads in front of people that are much more likely to be able to afford whatever it is that you're selling.
Right.
Again, you compare that to Google, where, hey, if someone searches for divorce attorney, they're getting the results they get are the same as a multimillionaire that's searching for a divorce attorney, right? It's just there's no filtering on Google. So that's one of the really powerful things about Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So bottom line here, it's great to run Facebook ads. You really need to put a lot of thought into your audience targeting. It's a huge make or break variable.
Yep.
Makes all the difference. That's it this week. We'll see you guys next time on the Automatic Marketing Show.